Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. It has been a while, about a month, which is crazy, but there hasn't been much news to talk about. And as you guys know, I've always said if there's not something to talk about, I am not making a video on it because it does not feel right to me. So for me personally, there hasn't been any shows coming out that I was interested in or wanted to talk about. There hasn't been anything kind of like where I wanted to review it. I had only just recently done a book haul episode, so it didn't feel right to do one of those, though I could have kind of maybe. So basically, we took some time off and we're back. And what I want to talk about today is the Lanterns teaser trailer that dropped the other day. Now, obviously, as I say so often again, is that I am not as big a DC fan as I have been a Marvel fan. I do not know these characters nearly as well. I am not the authority on that. What I can say and what I will say is that I am looking forward to this show. Now, is it bombastic in the same way that Superman was? No. Is it what I necessarily pictured from what I know of Green Lanterns previously? Also no. But what I think is interesting is, first off, of course, we're getting straight away more Lanterns. You know, we've had Guy Gardner in the Superman, and then of course here we've got Hal Jordan and John Stewart, if I'm getting the names correct. I hope so. And it looks like John is going to be joining the Lantern Corps during the process of this film. This show, and kind of that's the kind of one of the main contention points, is because it doesn't seem like Hal is too excited about kind of bringing John into the fold, so to speak. And it seems he's being very obtuse about that fact. Now, I am not big on DC lore, just told you that, but I don't know if this is necessarily going to play out the way we necessarily expect from the trailer. Now, what we get in the trailer is we get the idea that it's like a small town mystery, sort of like a murder mystery whodunit kind of style thing, and that what will kind of come with that is that there's going to be kind of a big reveal or a big underlying dark secret, so to speak. I am uncertain if maybe this is a big out of the park thing. I don't know if Hal Jordan's Hal Jordan. Is that a bad swing to make? I don't know, because I don't know these things. But it feels like the way they're sort of implying certain things, and the fact that like the trailer for the show kind of implies that Hal Jordan will die by the end, but that he's being very obtuse about the situation, and also that the powers aren't manifesting necessarily as we would expect. And well, again, I'm taking a lot of this from online. The fact that the suit is being shown, but the suit is not a green; it is almost like a disused brownish yellow. I'm wondering if something else is going on here than what's being shown, and this is kind of like really only the first 1-2 episodes, about bar like a few little snippets from like later on, maybe. I think this show is going to be different, and I think that's important to say. I think this is not trying to be what Superman was, and it's not trying to be what Supergirl is going to be. This is trying to stand separately to that. And what I actually would say, and I don't know if anyone agrees with this, I think this might be sort of the DCU's Andor in a way. And what I mean by that is, it seems like they're kind of going into this in a way that they're trying to introduce Lanterns in a way that. So let me start by what I think Andor did as a property. Andor being a character who wasn't necessarily well known by the larger amount of people, but was known enough within the actual, realms of Star Wars and nerd culture, etc. They had to make a show that was sort of so well elevated that the kind of merit of the acting and the dialogue and the stakes of the show sold the show. Right? You wanted people to hear about it and say, actually, this is probably some of the best Star Wars ever. Like, even if you're not a big Star Wars fan, you'll probably enjoy this show, or you might enjoy parts of it, etc. I'm wondering if that's going to be the same for Lanterns, in that I think they're kind of going with a grounded, more serious tone to kind of pull people into the DCU that wouldn't necessarily get into the DCU, because in the nicest possible way, Lanterns and the Green Lantern is a big name generally. I don't know if I asked people to name a superhero that was from DC, they'd come up with Green Lantern particularly quickly. You know, it would be, let's be real, it would be, as we know it right now, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, probably a Marvel character because they don't actually know, or you'd get something like The Flash, or you might get The Arrow because those were big TV shows, of course. But like aside from those characters, really, you're not going to get anything else. You might get a villain or two, Joker, you know. So some of these properties that they're now going into, Supergirl, obviously, it kind of works off the back of Superman, even though obviously she's had movies in the past as well. But I think what you're going to find is that what's going to work here for Lanterns is that it's kind of going with a more serious approach. It's going in with a more serious tone. And I think because of that, it's going to actually gain the viewership that it deserves off that back. Now, do I want it to kind of go a little bit more bombastic as the season goes on? I think that could be good. I think, you know, you're dealing with spacefaring characters. You're dealing, like, you don't want to make it too earthbound. But at the same time, as I see it, and again, I could be wrong, the Green Lanterns are meant to protect, well, Hal Jordan is meant to protect Earth, right? He's the protector of Earth regards to the Green Lanterns. So in my head, I think this makes perfect sense. There's a crime going on. There's something going on. He's involved. I have no issues with the concept. Of course, is it more grounded? Yes. But we've never not had ground. You know, a few years back, people would complain, and obviously this is again Marvel, but people would complain that we weren't getting Daredevil anymore. We weren't getting Jessica Jones. We're now getting that. You know, people wanted stuff, grittier stuff like The Boys. They want stuff like that. So I think having something that counteracts Superman and letting Superman stay kind of on the bombastic side and Supergirl sit somewhere in the middle, and then have our Lanterns, which is kind of going the opposite way, sort of even more into Peacemaker territory in a way. But like not maybe as a little bit more serious, is a good thing. I think that could be a good thing, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out. You know, is it going to be a magnum opus? I couldn't say. I couldn't say at this time, but I think this is going to be the first big kind of understanding of what the DCU can do, and not just that, what it does aside from James Gunn. Because I understand that Supergirl is made. Supergirl is made with Gunn, obviously James Gunn is in charge of all this, but he wasn't as directly entangled with Supergirl, but Supergirl works off the back or works with Superman. The Lanterns show seems to be like so separate to that. You know, even Peacemaker and Creature Commandos kind of lie on top of each other. You know, the Lanterns feels like something separate. So we'll see how that goes. And I think the dynamic was quite interesting, actually, having kind of this reluctant mentorship going on, because like it feels like it's the mentee trying to be serious and the mentor not wanting to be. And I think it kind of almost it's similar to the vibe of like how Luke Skywalker was handled, but a little bit less in your face and a little less egregious to what the material has come before. So it'll be interesting to see how Hal is still sort of serious about what he's doing and still wants to figure out this crime, but is so unserious about training John in this. I think that's my thoughts. I can't go on forever about this because, again, I couldn't tell you what goes on from a comic book perspective. I would love to, but I can't. And really, it's about me kind of saying, this is what I like. This is what I think. I think it is going to be. I think it's going to be interesting, and we will be watching. So look forward to, of course, a review and a discussion of the episodes on the first sort of showing, and then, of course, come the finale. It's really good to be back, of course. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. It's a smaller episode. It's a slighter episode, mainly because we haven't got loads and loads to talk about this week. It's mainly Lanterns this week that I wanted to discuss, but we are coming back sort of in force now. I'll say that, and then next week there might be nothing again. You never know these things, but I will not compromise on making videos on stuff I don't care about. I'm not intrigued by. But, of course, there are a number of other shows coming up soon. There is the Mall Show. There is the Star Wars movie. There is, of course, Lanterns. So there's stuff starting to kick off now. I think this year has been pretty slow on the entertainment front from the beginning, and then we're kind of getting into the bulk of it, the start of it now. So I'm excited to see how that rolls out from there. So, in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, as always. And I will see you next time for more. Bye, guys.